Could you imagine walking into the bank, withdrawing $100,000, light it up with your Bic lighter, and smiling and giggling all the time while you're doing it? Well, that's what happens when you're buying a lot of these vehicles. You're going in there, you're spending your hard-earned dollars, and unfortunately you're coming out after a 5 or 10 year time frame absolutely burning $50, $80, $100,000 of your hard-earned dollars. Yes, I've collected a list of 5 of the most devastating financial mistakes, the worst car brands you can possibly imagine. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
So we've pulled data with regards to depreciation and the value lost on the purchase of these vehicles in a 5-year time frame, as well as the cost to own some of these vehicles in a 10-year time frame. Let's just talk about some of the hard numbers. If you're keeping these vehicles for a significant amount of time, you're buying them new, they can absolutely be devastating. So let's take this from the top and we'll work our way to the absolute worst. But with that said, some of the easiest cars to own from a cost of maintenance and servicing perspective are Teslas, electric cars that only cost you about $4,000 in a 10-year time frame, but we're not going to include them. Let's get right to the top of the list, and the vehicle of the top 5 that's the least devastating, which is a BMW. And they say in a 10-year time frame, the average BMW ends up costing just their pride of ownership about $9,500 in cost of servicing, maintenance, keep tires, brakes, and just keep the vehicle on the road. High cost of getting the oil changes and services done, fluid changes. Make sure that you're always going to spend a significant amount of money, but it doesn't begin and end with the 10-year maintenance regime. What about depreciation? Because you have to incorporate that in the total loss. Now, according to our list, while this is a 5 Series BMW, the worst one on the list for BMW's depreciation is the 7 Series, and you could expect in 10 years to lose about $72,000 in depreciation. You couple that up with that $9,500 of average maintenance costs, and now you're in the space of losing about $83,000 and change in the course of 10 years should you decide to keep this vehicle for that long. And while many people consider money to hard to come by, and your 401ks and saving for retirement, spending $80,000 over a 10-year time frame to keep a vehicle like that in your garage is absolute nonsense. And right here we have number 2 on our list. Unfortunately, this was an A5, but the A6 is one of the worst depreciating vehicles in the Audi lineup. Well, they are absolutely beautiful vehicles, these VAG groups. They have the great all-wheel drive system and a lot of great performance machines. They have some of the best MMI and infotainment systems, and they look wonderful too. They're great in snow and ice, so people justify them. Luxury, capability, and all of that. But did you realize that you'll spend as much as $9,890, according to our statistics, on maintenance in a 10-year time frame? Couple that with the $38,000 depreciation on an Audi A6 like over here, and you've got yourself a recipe for close to $50,000 money lost in anywhere between that 5 to 10 year time frame, where you're actually looking at blowing all your hard-earned money away. And here's what we have next on our list is this big, beautiful 3-pointed stars we have right here. This is an AMG. These ones lose a lot of money, and they cost even more money for maintenance, especially when you're talking about AMG cars like this vehicle here. Because why? You have to put much bigger wheels on there. That costs a lot of money. Generally, the brakes are much more expensive on the AMG cars, and almost every other amenity. You've got drivetrains that usually require a little more finesse, a little bit more maintenance, and certainly are more susceptible to failure. So when parts break, they're breaking big, and it's a very expensive car to maintain. And while yes, absolutely, you're living in the lap of luxury, it's a beautiful vehicle, you're very comfortable, performs well, looks exceptional, and for that brand, you're gonna pay for that money, because at $10,000 in a 10-year time frame for your average Mercedes-Benz for maintenance and services, the AMGs will go up. This is just the average. Remember, we're talking about an average of the CLAs and the CLBs, GLBs, all of these smaller vehicles too. It blended average. So if you're talking about a full-size unit like this, it's even worse. But the worst part is, if you're talking about the amount you're going to lose on depreciation, what we're having here is a GLS, but the S-Class sedan, you could lose as much as $70,563 by owning one of these vehicles in a 5-year time frame. Yes, in other words, you could expect to lose over $80,000, $81,000, $82,000 by owning this vehicle in a 10-year time frame. And that's not even taking into account any major catastrophic failures. These vehicles, when they break, as I said, they break big. Forget about if you blow a gearbox or an engine outside of warranty, then all bets are off and it's a huge catastrophic failure to your bank book. And here we have the next one here is a Porsche. Here we have Cayennes, obviously they're SUVs. Porsche has many other models like the Macan, which we see over here. They're smaller SUVs. These also cost a significant amount of money to keep on the road, particularly when you're talking about the upscales, the Macan turbos. You've also got the Boxsters like this, the Boxster coupes like you have right here, and the Taycan, which is their electric vehicle like this one. But we also can't forget one of their most tried and true cars that they've been known for many, many decades, and that's the Porsche 911. And here we have a cabriolet. Absolutely gorgeous car, gorgeous white, draped with red top, red seats, red calipers, an absolutely beautiful car all the way around. Traditional bug-eyed headlights, traditional rear engine configuration, PDK or manual gearbox. This is an absolute beautiful car, and this is a big reason why the costs of ownership are so high, because these vehicles, all of these Porsches, are so much money to keep on the road. The average Porsche 911 actually loses far less than the cabriolet. The convertible like this in a 5-year time frame loses as much as $42,000 in 5 years, meaning this is one of the biggest, hardest losers in the Porsche lineup today, other than the Taycan, which is their electrified vehicle. These lose a ton of money. You're throwing cash to the wind. But on top of that, the average Porsche costs about $14,000 in a 10-year time frame for maintenance, an average of. So that collective total to own the worst case scenario, one of the Porsche 911 cabrios, is actually going to be about $56,000 gone in 5 to 10 years to own yourself a cabriolet Porsche 911, maybe a Taycan, or some of the less productive or less popular models within the Porsche lineup. Either way, huge depreciation, huge maintenance and service costs, and these are some of the most reliable and best performing sports cars on the planet, but they do come at a cost. If you want to lose less money on a Porsche 911, you look at the GT3s, GT3 RSs, turbos, and always buy the coupe, which is the hardtop that's always going to keep more money in your pocket. Cabrio's nice when the sun's shining, but obviously no sun today, so this just makes it a moot point. And the last and most absolutely devastating to your pocketbook, your finances, and if you seriously don't care about money, then these are the vehicles you obviously buy, because people that generally buy these, either they're extremely rich and they could trump the king and queen of England in terms of the finances, or they're just not thinking about what this is going to cost them in the long run. But what we're looking at here is a Range Rover by Land Rover. But this one here, particularly this Range Rover, is a sport, and the full-size Range Rover is even worse. But even these are significant cost of maintenance and servicing. Reliability is a serious challenge with a lot of these vehicles. You used to have some air ride suspension issues. You have all kinds of maintenance service issues. And it's not uncommon to have an annual service of $1,000, $1,500, even $2,000 a year just to keep these vehicles on the road. Electrical issues, mechanical problems, rear differential, engine issues, O2 sensors, fuel pump problems, you name it, they have it. Obviously, even these retracting door handles, when they break, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. Imagine that outside of warranty. But that's what happens owning a Range Rover. Everything you do costs thousands of dollars. And in over 10-year time frame, they say that it averages out to about $19,250 of ownership cost for your average Range Rover. That's almost 20 grand. That's $2,000 per year blended average. But the worst part is the depreciation in a 5-year time frame for your average full-size Land Rover Range Rover product is about $68,800 and some odd dollars. You've lost almost $70,000 in a 5-year time frame, which means you add that $70,000 to your $20,000 in the 10-year space, and now all of a sudden you've got yourself a $90,000, $95,000, $100,000 loss in 5 to 10 years. And we all worry about our finances. Money's hard to come by. So unless you're extremely wealthy or extremely not thinking so much outside the box, these are the vehicles that are going to cost you dearly. And with all of that said, be sure to check out right there some of the most reliable vehicles on the market today. At least if it's going to cost you money, it shouldn't cost you a whole lot of hassle. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.